Unit 7.3 of Money Market. In this, we will be discussing the Certificate of Deposit. Certificate of Deposit is also known as CD. It is a security issued to a depositor by a bank to raise money in the same way as a time deposit. So it is similar to a time deposit. The bank is borrowing money, and we and the corporation will be depositing money with the bank. The biggest difference between a time deposit and a certificate of deposit is that the certificate of deposit is negotiable. That means that you can sell the certificate of deposit to somebody else, and you do not have to break the deposit in the middle in order to get your money back. Now, this offers two big advantages. Number one is that it provides you with liquidity. So, at any point in time, you can get your money back by simply selling your certificate of deposit to somebody else. And the second point is that it allows to take a view on interest rates to earn capital gain as well. So, for example, you might buy a certificate of deposit when the interest rates at that time are 10%, and a few months later the interest rate goes down to 7%. Now, if the interest rate goes down, the price of the certificate of deposit will go up. If you remember, you have studied this relationship in bond valuation, that whenever the market interest rate goes down, the price goes up. If you don't, we'll revise it in the later slides if you don't remember it. So what happens that if the market interest rate goes down later on, that the price of the deposit will go up. And if you sell the deposit after the price has gone up, you will automatically earn capital gain from the price appreciation. However, because it offers this advantage, the yield will be slightly lower than a term deposit of the same bank, because this is offering an added advantage. So automatically the yield will be a bit lower. You do not have to give a very big incentive to the investors. Because it is negotiable, this itself is an incentive for investors to deposit their money in the certificate of deposit. The term is generally up to 1 year and usually pays coupon. Interest is paid at maturity or semi-annually, and it can even pay a floating rate. So now we will discuss the price of a certificate of deposit. Like you've already studied, most probably in Principles of Finance, if you want to calculate the price of any financial security, you need to figure out what are the cash flows that that security is going to generate, and calculate the present value of these cash flows. So whatever will be the present value of the cash flows will be the price of that financial security. So if you want to calculate the price of a certificate of deposit, you will have to calculate the present value of future cash flows that this certificate of deposit is going to give. If you calculate the present value, that is the price that you will be willing to pay for that certificate of deposit. Now over here you have some formulas. So you have the coupon amount, because the interest rate is given in the form of a coupon rate. Coupon rate multiplied by face value. Face value is the notional amount. It is the, you could say, the par value of the certificate of deposit, multiplied by days from issue to maturity divided by year. And then you have the formula for maturity proceeds, which you can see is still similar to the formula that you have already studied, just rate has been replaced by coupon rate over here, and the principal amount has been replaced by face value. So the terminologies have changed now. Amount paid, now this is basically the formula for the price, which is maturity proceeds. So what you're going to get in the future, the maturity proceeds is what you will be getting in the future. So basically this is your future value. And if you find the present value of this amount, like I already said, that is going to be the price of the certificate of deposit. So this is simply your present value formula. This is present value, future value, which is your maturity proceeds, and 1 plus R multiplied by your days over year. I'm sure you're more accustomed to seeing this formula. So basically it is that formula because you're dealing with short-term securities that are going to end within a year. That's why you're using the fractional form and you're not using this exponential over here, but it is essentially the same formula and you are finding the present value. So over here you have R and this is your N. Now let's look at an example that how are we supposed to calculate the price. So a certificate of deposit is issued with a face value of 3 million, a coupon of 5.25% and a term of 91 days. This is your N, this is your rate, and this is your face value. A dealer buys this CD in the secondary market when it has only 30 days left to maturity and the yield is quoted as 5.17 to 5.27%. How much does he pay for it? So the first step is that you will find what is the maturity proceeds, what is the future value. Okay, this is the face value, this is not the future value. So you will first calculate the maturity proceeds. The formula for that is the face value multiplied by 1 plus the coupon rate. So I'm just going to write R time days over year. So it's the previous formula, I've just shortened the terminologies. So the face value is 3 million. 1 plus R time days is 91. And year, now it's USD. So for USD, we use a 360 days convention. Now you see, I have ignored this 30 days left to maturity and everything because first we simply need the maturity proceeds. So in a normal scenario, what would you get when this certificate of deposit matures? So if you do the calculation, sorry, I haven't put the rate amount over here. So the rate is 5.25%, so 0.0525. So the amount is 3039812.5. So let's make a timeline. If you deposit 3 million right now, after 91 days, you're going to get 3039812.5. Now let's see what is the question is demanding from us. So a dealer buys this CD in the secondary market when it has only 30 days left to maturity. So that means that 61 days have gone by and there are only 30 days left and the bond is going and the certificate of deposit is going to mature after 30 days. How much does he pay for it? So how much is he going to pay over here for it? If this person is going to purchase the deposit, so what is the price that he would be willing to pay over here given that after 30 days he is going to get this amount? Now this is your question. So if you find the present value of this amount, it will be what this investor will be willing to pay right now. So simply you're supposed to calculate the present value of this future cash flow and N will be 30 because the 61 days are not relevant to this investor. He is going to purchase it at this point when the certificate of deposit has only 30 days left. So he will calculate the present value based on this. So let's use the present value formula. This is the future value. 1 plus. Now, what should be the rate that should be used? You have two rates, 5.17% and 5.27%. You're never supposed to use the coupon rate for this purpose. The discounting is always done with the market interest rate. So 5.17 or 5.27. Now, since this person is going to purchase, right, because he is going to pay for it, so he's going to purchase this, he will be the price taker. The price taker means that he will get the rate that is not at his advantage, that is at a disadvantage for him. So that was going to be the 5.17% rate because he is the price taker. So if it's going to get discounted by a lower amount, automatically the price is going to be higher. So you're going to take a lower amount over here. So this is going to be 1 plus 5.17% times 30 over 360 because you're bringing it back 30 days. So if you calculate this, this is 3026,772.16. This is the amount that this investor is going to pay over here, 3026,772. So if he wants to purchase a certificate of deposit over here, this is the price that he will have to pay, and after 30 days he will get this amount. So like I mentioned in the beginning that the yield and the price have a negative relationship, which means if the yield goes down, the price of the deposit is going to go up, and vice versa. If the yield increases, the price of the certificate of deposit will go down. This is simply because if you look at the formula, so I told you that the formula is simply the present value formula, future value or your maturity proceeds, whatever they are, you're discounting them using the yield. So the yield is over here. So if the yield is going to increase, your denominator is going to increase. And because this is the denominator, if the dividing amount is going to increase, the present value, which is the price, is going to decrease. So the formula has said that this is always going to be true. And it makes sense as well if you understand what do you mean by yield. Yield is the opportunity cost. It is the uh, rate that is available at the next best alternative that you have given up. So basically you can see, understand this, that this is what is there available in the competition. So you're saying that the other instruments, financial instruments in the market are now offering a better yield than your certificate of deposit. Then your certificate of deposit will no longer be in that much demand, and automatically the price will go down. This is the logic behind it. Similarly, if you understand that the yield is what the competition is offering, and you can see that if the yield goes down, that means the return that the other instruments are offering is going down, and the certificate of deposit that you have has a higher yield, then automatically the demand for your certificate of deposit will go up, and so will the price of your certificate of deposit. Again, so this is again something that you should have studied in Principles of Finance in your bond valuation topic. I'm going to add the links of where I discuss this in more detail so that this becomes more clear to you. Now moving ahead, yield over holding period return. Now we discussed that certificate of deposits are negotiable, which means that they can be sold out to somebody else. So assume that you bought a certificate of deposit and then later on you sold a certificate of deposit to somebody else. So what would be your return over the certificate of deposit depending upon how many days you have kept that deposit with you? So in order to calculate that, you have this formula, which is 1 plus the purchase yield times days divided by year, and then in denominator you have 1 plus the sale yield days from sale to maturity divided by year, and over here you have year and days held. So let's look at an example because that is how you understand how to use the formula. Now this is an example. The dealer having purchases a certificate of deposits as described in that example, so it's connected to the previous example, then sells it again a week later when it has only 23 days left to maturity, when the yields are quoted as 5.07 and 5.17%. So let's go back to the previous example first to see the values. So 3 million, the coupon rate is 5.25 and it has a term of 91 days. So we're going to use this information. So the face value is 3 million. The coupon rate on this bond was certificate of deposit was 5.25%, and the term is 91 days. Okay, also in the previous question, you bought this when there was only 30 days left to maturity. Now it says that you're going to sell it again a week later with only 23 days. So a week later, after 7 days, you have sold it again, and now there are only 23 days left. So first, at what price did you buy it? So what was the price at the 30th day? You have already calculated it, right? So the price of the certificate of deposit at the 30th day when you purchased it was, which was your purchase price? $30,26772.16. So this is the price at which you have bought it. Now after 7 days, you're going to sell it once again. So you need to calculate the price once again, that what it will be after 7 days. Now there are two ways to actually solve this question. One is a formula that you have already studied previously in the earlier classes. So first I'm going to jog up your memory, and we're going to use this formula. So I want to see if you remember it or not. Yield over the holding period is cash flow at the end divided by cash flow at the start and minus 1 bracket close. So I hope you remember this formula, and if you don't, then go back and revise it once again. So cash flow at the start, this is the purchase price at the price at which you have bought it, because you bought it at the 30th day when there were 30 days left to maturity, and 1 week later you're going to sell it when there are 23 days left to maturity. So you will have to calculate what is the cash flow at the end. So at what price are you going to sell it? So you're going to do it in the same way that we have already discussed. You're first going to calculate the maturity proceeds. So the maturity proceeds, we also calculated this previously in the previous example. So, but I'm going to do it once again. So 3,000, 1 plus the rate, 91 over 360. So the maturity proceeds were 3039812.5. And you want to calculate, so this is the maturity proceeds when the maturity will be 0. And again, you will calculate the present value of this amount, but now you want it over here when there are only 23 days left for its maturity. So you're going to use the present value formula for that, and this is your maturity proceeds, and you're going to discount it back by 23 days. $3,029,804.88. So this is the price of the certificate of deposit when the maturity left is only 23 days. So I hope you are now clear that how can you calculate the price of the certificate of deposit at any time period depending upon what is its remaining maturity. So now you have the cash flow at the start, and you also have the cash flow at the end. So you bought it for 30,026,772.16. So this is the price at which you bought it. And when you sold it for this much. So this is the cash flow at the start and this is the cash flow at the end. Now you can plug it in the formula over here. So I'm going to erase all of this first. So the cash flow at the end, it was 3029,804.88. So this is the price at which you are going to sell the certificate of deposit, and the cash flow at the start at which you purchased it was 3026,772.16. 360 and then divided by the days held, which is 7. So this gives you 0.0515, which is 5.15%. So one way of doing the question is this, which is something that you studied earlier. And another formula is the one that you studied just now. So now we're going to plug in the values in the other formula. Both will give you the same answer. So 1 plus, now you have the purchase yield. So at the time you were purchasing, you used the yield of 5.17%. So 0.0517 days from purchase to maturity. So at the time that you purchased it until maturity, there were 30 days. You purchased it when there were 30 days left to maturity. So this will be 30 and year is 360. Then in the denominator, you have 1 plus. Now, what should be the rate that you use over here, which is your sale yield? Again, you're going to assume that you are the price taker because you want to be prudent in your calculations. You do not want the best alternative. So you're going to use the rate of 5.17% once again because this will give you the lower price. That is at a disadvantage to you because you're selling it now. So 0.0517 times, now you have days from sale to maturity. So at the time when you're going to sell it, there will be 23 days left till maturity. So this will be 23 divided by 360, and then you have -1 multiplied by year, which is 360, and days held, so you hold it for 7 days only. So if you do the calculation, you will get the same answer from this as well. So it's completely up to you which formula do you prefer using and which one do you find easier to understand.